Welcome to this explainer. All right, let's get right into it. Today we're looking at a serious geopolitical flashpoint, the rapidly escalating tension between Japan and China over Taiwan. And what's wild is that this whole crisis was set off by a single, very carefully chosen phrase. We're going to break down exactly what happened and what it all means. So here's our roadmap. We'll start with the spark, that one comment that lit the fuse. Then we'll jump into China's explosive reaction. From there, we'll unpack how Japan sees this as an existential threat and why for China, it's a historical obsession. We'll also pull back the curtain on a hidden war of espionage, and finally, try to figure out what this new reality means for everyone. All right, so how did this whole firestorm get started? Well, it wasn't with a missile or a ship. It began with just a few words, spoken during a pretty standard parliamentary session. So, Japan's prime minister was asked about a potential attack on Taiwan, and this was her answer. She used this exact phrase, a survival-threatening situation. Now, you might just hear that and think, okay, that's just strong political talk. But it's so much more than that. Those specific words carry an incredible amount of weight. And here's why that phrase is such a massive deal. A survival-threatening situation isn't just rhetoric, it's a legal tripwire. It's the one specific condition that allows Japan's self-defense forces to actually fight alongside an ally, like the United States, in a conflict outside of Japan. We're talking about something that has been off the table for decades because of their constitution. Okay, so Japan draws this new red line, and China's reaction? Wow, it wasn't just fast. It went way beyond the usual diplomatic protests and straight into the territory of open public threats. I mean, just look at this. This came from China's consul general in Osaka. He posted what is, let's be real, a thinly veiled death threat against Japan's leader on social media. Now, he deleted it pretty quick, but you can't unring that bell. The message was sent, loud and clear. And the threats weren't just in words. This picture, right here, tells you everything you need to know about China's new wolf warrior style. See, this isn't just a guy being rude with his hands in his pockets. That whole outfit is a deliberate replica from a famous Chinese martial arts movie, where the hero beats up a whole room full of Japanese fighters. This was pure political theater, a calculated insult. And it didn't just stop there. China's own foreign ministry got in on the action, posting a whole series of threats, just like this one. The language just got more and more aggressive, taking things to a level we really haven't seen before. So this all begs the question, right? Why would Japan's prime minister say something so provocative to begin with? Well, for Japan, a war over Taiwan isn't some abstract, faraway problem. It is a direct, immediate threat to their very survival. You really start to get it when you look at the map. I mean, think about this. More than 90% of Japan's energy, the oil and gas that keeps the country running, comes through sea lanes right next to Taiwan. Geographically, their closest island is just over 100 kilometers away. And of course, any American response would almost certainly involve the US bases in Japan, making them instant targets. So that statement from the prime minister, it wasn't really a provocation. It was a deterrent. It was Japan's way of telling Beijing in no uncertain terms just how high the stakes would be for everyone. Okay, so that's the view from Tokyo. Now let's flip the coin. To really understand China's furious reaction, you have to look beyond just today's geopolitics. We need to dig into history, philosophy, and frankly, the personal goals of its leader. For President Xi Jinping, this is deeply personal. Unifying with Taiwan isn't just another policy objective. It's the key to his entire legacy. Pulling this off would be something that even Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping couldn't do. It would put him in the pantheon of China's greatest historical figures and justify him staying in power indefinitely. But you know, there's something even deeper going on here, almost philosophical. It's this ancient concept called the mandate of heaven. For thousands of years, it's been the idea that heaven grants a single ruler the right to rule all of China. So the very existence of a separate democratic Chinese government in Taiwan, well, that's seen as a direct challenge to the Communist Party's claim to that mandate. From their perspective, their legitimacy will never be complete until unification happens. All right, so we have all this very public, very loud posturing. But beneath the surface, there is a whole other war being fought. A secret war of espionage and information warfare designed to weaken any opposition from the inside out. You can really think of it as a two-front strategy.
On one side, you've got the overt aggression, the military drills, the loud threats we've been talking about. And on the other, you've got this quiet, patient, and persistent campaign of covert operations happening in the shadows.
And some of these tactics are incredibly sophisticated. Take a look at this playbook they use for social media influencers. It's actually brilliant in a sinister way. They pay someone, but they tell them to start by criticizing China. Why? To build up credibility, to make people trust them. Then, once they've got a loyal audience, they slowly start to change their tune. It's a classic intelligence op, just retooled for the 21st century.
And in case you think this sounds like something out of a spy movie, it's not. This is happening right now. We're talking about recent arrests of spies working as senior aides in the German parliament and public warnings from Britain's MI5 about recruitment happening on platforms like LinkedIn. It's very real. So what does all of this add up to? Well, it seems we're looking at a totally new reality. The old way of doing things, based mostly on economic partnership, that's falling apart. And now, both sides are digging in for a much more confrontational future.
And a huge piece of this is economics. One of Japan's biggest weaknesses has been its reliance on China for rare earth minerals. Just look at this. About 60% of their supply comes from China. And these aren't just for making smartphones. They are absolutely critical for advanced military hardware. China has used this as a weapon before, and Japan has decided never again. So to break free from that economic chokehold, Japan is now launching this massive national project to mine its own rare earth deposits. It is a crystal clear move toward what they call decoupling, basically strategic and economic independence from China.
And here's the great irony in all this. China's super aggressive, in-your-face diplomacy, it seems to have totally backfired. Instead of intimidating Japan, it's actually pushed them even closer to the United States and hardened Japanese public opinion against China. In a way, it's undermined their own long-term goals.
Which leaves us with a final, pretty sobering thought to chew on. When the diplomats start talking like warriors, and when national pride and historical ambition seem to override any kind of rational calculation, you have to ask, is the door for peaceful dialogue between Asia's great powers finally closing for good?